Beginning, a treaty written in flesh. The war had lasted 17 years, 3 months, and 6 days. By the time it ended, entire star systems had been reduced to drifting debris fields, their suns dimmed by weaponized stellar siphons. Humanity had survived, not because it was the strongest force in the galaxy, but because it was too stubborn to collapse completely. Earth's fleets were shattered. Mars lay under occupation. The outer colonies were gone. And yet, humanity still existed. That was enough for the Karzul Dominion to propose peace. The treaty was delivered to Earth's Provisional Council aboard a living dreadnought, its hull pulsing like the hide of a colossal beast. The terms were simple, brutal, and unmistakably alien. The war would end immediately. Human worlds would be spared further annihilation. Humanity would be recognized as a protected client species. In return, Earth would offer a symbol of submission, a marriage. The Karzul believed deeply in hierarchy. To them, marriage was not love, it was conquest made permanent. A bonded union meant shared authority, shared fate, and unquestioned obedience from the lesser party. The chosen groom was General Vorthak Threx. He was a legend across the galaxy, supreme commander of the Dominion's Eastern Arm, conqueror of 13 civilizations, survivor of 100 campaigns. He was 72 standard cycles old. The chosen bride was human. His name was Elias Morin. Elias was 29 years old, a civilian logistics officer captured during the siege of Europa. He had no political power, no military rank of consequence. That was precisely why he was chosen. The Dominion wanted obedience, not influence. When Elias was told of the decision, he laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the alternative was screaming. "You can't be serious," he said to the Earth counselors on the cracked holoscreen. "You're selling me. We're saving billions," one of them replied, her voice hollow. "You'll be safe." Honored, even. Elias looked at the Karzul guards flanking him, towering reptilian giants clad in war-scarred armor. "I won't survive a year," he said quietly. No one contradicted him. The wedding took place on the Dominion capital world of Karzeth, beneath a blood-red sky. Elias stood alone on the ceremonial platform, hands bound in silver restraint bands, wearing garments that marked him as property. When General Vorthak Threx arrived, the ground itself trembled. The alien general was massive, his scaled body bearing ritual scars that glowed faintly with biothermal energy. His eyes burned gold with intelligence sharpened by centuries of war. He looked at Elias not with cruelty, but with assessment. "Fragile," Vorthak said in a voice like grinding stone, "but adaptable." The bond was sealed. The galaxy exhaled. The war was over. No one imagined what would come next. Middle, the marriage no one understood. Life as the bonded spouse of a Karzul general was not what Elias expected. There were no chains, no cages, no overt cruelty. There was something far more dangerous. Respect. Vorthak did not treat Elias as an ornament or a trophy. He treated him as a junior officer, someone to be trained, tested, and sharpened. "You belong to me," Vorthak said on their first night within the fortress palace. But belonging is not weakness. It is responsibility. Elias expected violation. Instead, he was given quarters autonomy within the fortress and access to military archives, ostensibly so he could understand his place. That was the first mistake. Humans did not survive by brute force. They survived by learning systems and finding pressure points. Elias studied everything: Dominion logistics, supply chains, command rituals, honor codes, military doctrine that hadn't changed in centuries because no one had dared challenge it. He learned the Karzul believed age equaled wisdom and authority. They deferred instinctively to elders, especially decorated generals like Vorthak. And Vorthak, unknowingly, gave Elias something even more dangerous than access. He gave him trust. They spoke often about war, about strategy, about the difference between conquest and control. Elias asked questions no one else dared ask. Why rule through fear? Elias asked one night. Because fear prevents rebellion, Vorthak replied. Only until it doesn't, Elias said. Vorthak laughed, a deep, rumbling sound. You humans are idealists. No, Elias answered softly. We're survivors. Slowly, imperceptibly, Elias's influence grew. Vorthak began adjusting patrol routes based on Elias's observations. Logistics improved. Rebellions quieted, not through executions, but resource reallocation. Other generals noticed. Whispers spread through the Dominion. The human consort was not weak. He was changing things. When Elias was invited to observe high command councils, the galaxy crossed a threshold it would later regret. Elias listened, learned personalities, identified rivalries, and when the time came, he spoke. You're bleeding resources, fighting ghosts, Elias said during one council. Your enemies aren't here. They're waiting for you to collapse under your own weight. Some laughed. Vorthak did not. From that day forward, Elias became the general strategist and humanity's quiet avenger. And the price of underestimating humanity. The collapse began 5 years after the marriage. Not with explosions, with silence. Supply convoys failed to arrive. Garrisons found themselves underfunded, understaffed, and demoralized. Rebellions flared simultaneously across dozens of systems, too coordinated to be coincidence. The Dominion accused Vorthak of incompetence. They summoned him and Elias to the capital. That was when Elias made his move. Standing before the High Dominion Council, Elias activated a hidden transmission. Across the chamber, holoscreens flared to life, showing classified data, intercepted orders, proof of systemic corruption among the ruling caste. I learned from the best, Elias said calmly. You taught me how empires fall. The council erupted. Vorthak turned slowly toward Elias. You used me. Elias met his gaze. You taught me. The truth was worse than betrayal. Elias had embedded human advisors across Dominion logistics networks under the guise of efficiency consultants. He had seeded reforms that favored autonomy. He had turned the Dominion's rigid hierarchy against itself. By the time the council realized what was happening, it was irreversible. Systems declared independence. Fleets refused orders. Generals questioned elders. Civil war ignited. Earth was never attacked again. When the dust settled, the Karzal Dominion was no longer an empire, just a fractured collection of states negotiating survival. Vorthak survived the war. So did Elias. Years later, on a quiet world far from the ruins of empires, Elias stood overlooking an ocean, older now, scarred in ways no treaty could heal. Vorthak joined him, leaning heavily on a ceremonial staff. You could have killed me, the general said. Elias nodded. But then the galaxy would have learned nothing. Vorthak looked out at the stars. They force you into marriage to break your species. And instead, Elias replied, they gave humanity access. The galaxy would remember the lesson for centuries. Never mistake endurance for weakness. Never mistake age for control. And never force a human into a cage. Because eventually, the cage becomes a weapon. And the galaxy paid the price.